The new episode of Dragon Ball DAIMA is out. This one is episode 6, and it's called Lightning. I'm going to make this as quick as I can. Anyways, the episode starts exactly as we expected it to, where the last one left off. Their plane crashed just as they were leaving the palace of the third Demon World's Demon King, and it's because they loaded too much luggage. Now, Goku's got to take a shit, so he's like, Pansy, you got any toilet paper? Whacks him in the face with a roll of toilet paper. He goes off, does his business. And then some of King Goma's police force lands. They're on the search for Goku. They see Glorio, they see Supreme Kai, they see Pansy. Think it's weird this group's traveling together, but they don't really push too hard on it. They're like, all right, look out for this kid. They leave. No big deal, right? Pansy fixes up the ship. They get on their move. They take a rest inside of a cave. Not a lot happens early in the episode. Just a little bit of comedy. It was a good time. Anyways, they find a cave that they're going to rest in. While getting ready to go to sleep in this cave, Supreme Kai starts sort of pressing Glorio a little bit about who hired him. And Pansy is really the one that asks him who hired him. But Supreme Kai is, he's got his eye on Glorio. Clearly something's not right. We learned that in the last episode. While everybody's asleep, Glorio goes out and is talking on a communicator to Arinsu, who is Supreme Kai's sister. So that confirms Glorio's working for her. Now we know who he's working for. We don't entirely still know the motives. All we know, as far as we know, they intend to overthrow Goma. The question is why? Does Arinsu want the throne for herself? Is this just some kind of game? We don't really know what her and Glorio's individual motives are for doing what they seem to be doing. We're going to have to get further in to figure that out. It could be some big plot twist coming up. While they're sleeping in the cave, they're approached by Minotaur. Nothing real meaningful happens with this guy. It's some comedy. I got some chuckles, some laughs out of it. Goku's calling him a cow, and they're just he's trying to be intimidating. They're just having a casual conversation with him. Not a whole lot happens there. However, Glorio plans to take care of him. Goku's like, hey, big dog, I'll take this one. I don't think you can handle him. Glorio gets offended by this. It's like, you want to try me? It's like, all right, let's step outside. So go outside, and we get this awesome fight between Goku and Glorio. Finally, we're getting, more than just a little bit of action here and there. We got some real action between two seemingly powerful characters. Glorio's stronger than I thought he was. Granted, he's not as strong as Goku, as this fight revealed. Goku went Super Saiyan in this fight again, even though they were kind of treating it like it was the first time he did it in the show, but he did it in the last episode, so that was a little weird. But he did go Super Saiyan. Glorio's got some cool techniques, and they're magic-based. They're not ki-based, because he's a Majin. He's a demon. It's a little different in that sense. Goku was going to fight him with one arm. Supreme Kai's like, hey, can you take it a little more seriously? I'm trying to see how strong this guy is. Supreme Kai's really questioning Glorio and who he might really be, what his motives are. Goku's like, all right, bet. Goku starts actually throwing down. Glorio does manage to knock away Goku's power pole. And Glorio, he's got these techniques, and this is where the name of the episode came from, lightning. He's got these real lightning sort of based techniques, which are really cool. Some sort of ball lightning blast. He's got something where it's he can shoot lightning out of his fingers like a Sith Lord or something. And he's got a technique where it looks like he charges up a large ball, which you think is going to be like a blast or a wave or something. But then it turns into more like a beam, like a very concentrated beam that if it were to hit someone, I imagine it'd shoot right through them. I think of Frieza's death beam, but this looked more intimidating. Goku goes Super Saiyan and just completely doesn't even deflect the beam. He just kind of nullifies it. He strikes the beam that Glorio fires at Goku has such a fine tip to it. And Goku, being the combat genius that he is, he strikes it with the tips of his fingers. And those two opposing forces striking each other with such small surfaces sort of cancel out. And he just cancels the beam out by striking it at the very tip. One of the coolest thing I've seen in this show so far. One of the coolest things I've seen in Dragon Ball. I'm going to be honest. It was awesome. Goku very quickly shows how far ahead of Glorio he is, because this is just him in Super Saiyan. Again, it's weird because they act like this is the first time he did Super Saiyan when he did it in the last episode. Because Goku even says, I'm glad I can still go Super Saiyan in my kid form. But it's like, bro, you just did it yesterday. You did it a day before this. What are you talking about? So that was a little weird. I didn't get that. The biggest thing to come out of this episode is the confirmation that the Supreme Kai being a Glind is not necessarily a retcon. so much as it is adding on to the lore. And what I mean by that is that the whole world tree thing was kind of like, I don't want to use the word canon or canonized, but Toriyama adapted it into his new lore. Toriyama had an interview where he talked about the Kais, or the Shinjin, as they were called in the interview. They weren't called Glind, they were called the Shinjin, were born from fruit from the World Core's world tree. And I've got a video that I'm working on that briefly goes over this as well. They were born from like fruit, and like the regular, the Shinjin that become Kaio, so like King Kai and, all of them, they're born from like regular fruit, and that's why they look sort of different. And then the Shinjin, like Supreme Kai, that become Supreme Kais, are born from golden fruit. Toriyama has adapted this into Daima, though it is a little different than he said in the interview. So it's like a loose retcon, but more like a rework and like just a better understanding of how he wants it to be, or wanted it to be. And that's, yes, they're called Glind. Yes, they're from the demon realm, and yes, they're born from trees. The demonstration we saw, they didn't necessarily look like fruit, but maybe they are before they take, that humanoid form that they have. The weirdest thing Supreme Kai said was that they don't really have genders, but he still calls Degasu his brother and Arinsu his sister. I'm not going to put a whole lot of thought into it. It was just odd. But he did reveal that the only reason they're considered brother and sisters because they're born from the same tree. Because that is new information. We were under the impression that it was one world core tree that they were all born from. All Shinjin, or in this case, all Glind. There's 5. He said there's 5 trees. Now, we didn't get an explanation about the beings that have become the Kaio. Are they also Glind? Or are they some sort of offshoot species of Glind? Or are they something else entirely? Because they do look different than the Supreme Kais. Or, one theory may be that each tree may birth different looking Glind. Degasu and Supreme Kai Shin are both from the same tree. So they're brothers. So that's why they look similar. They got the mohawk hair, and they're slimmer, they're sleeker, they look more normal. Maybe one of the other trees births Glind that look a little wonky like King Kai and the other Kaio. They're a little weird looking. They didn't really explain that. I'm hoping that they do later, but at this point, they may not. So my theory, until confirmed otherwise, is that they are also Glind, but maybe they're just born from one of the other trees. And maybe all the trees birth different looking Glind. They could end up being a different species altogether. I don't know, but I think my theory is probably more likely to be true. And until proven wrong, I'm just going to kind of stick with that. Things in Dragon Ball are always changing. New lore is always coming out. At least it was when Toriyama was doing interviews back in the day. I think that was the biggest thing to come out of this episode. And fortunately, it doesn't change the video that I'm working on about the Kais. It doesn't change it very much because it's not necessarily so much about their in-universe origin as something else. But it does add some added context to what we understand about the Kais. The episode pretty much ends with back on Earth. Bulma finishes Supreme Kai's ship so that Vegeta and Piccolo and Kibito can get ready to head to the Demon Realm. Vegeta's like squatting, like I don't know how heavy those weights were. I'm going to assume Kibito gave the weights to him or something. They got to be like magic weights for them to be challenging. I think what's more surprising about Vegeta doing squats is that he's doing half reps. I don't get. You would think the Saiyans would be able to go full range of motion, but I don't know. Maybe he's doing partials to, rep out to failure or something. I don't know, but he's doing half set squats. Bulma's like, all right, finished. Piccolo, Vegeta, and Kibito jump. They get into the ship. They're getting ready to leave and head to the Demon Realm so they can join the others. And then the ship gets ready to take off, and then it just doesn't. And that's kind of where we're left. So maybe that's why, that's where the other guy that's heading to them to pick them up, that's where that's going to come in handy, I think. They need the password anyways. So they couldn't have gotten in with their own ship regardless. So they would have needed someone to give them the password to get by warp. So that's where we ended. The fight was badass. I think, from what I hear, there's going to be even more action in the next episode. There's going to be more action to come. Vegeta is finally going to be joining the fray, as is Piccolo, which I'm even more excited to see. I'm excited to see little Goku and little Vegeta fighting side by side. Really stoked about that. So, and I'm interested. The whole Glorio thing has got me really sort of zoned in, and it's like, okay, I want to know what's going on here. I'm also excited to play as Glorio in Sparking Zero when he drops. So, again, this has been Dark the Lad with a brief Dragon Ball DAIMA episode review. Things are happening. The gears are turning. The wheels are turning. We're progressing. We're getting into the action. We're starting to get a better, picture of what's actually going on here. And I don't think, and I mean a better picture, not the whole picture. I think there's a lot that's still yet to be uncovered. This is going to be a really interesting story, I think, by the time we reach the end. So, if you're like me and you're excited to see what happens, keep watching. Or if you're waiting for the dub, that's fine too. Because I would imagine the dub, it's ended its theater run, so it shouldn't be too far off. Anyways, if you enjoyed this review, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more uploads and to see that Kai video that I'm working on, as well as other anime content. Check out some of the other stuff that's on my channel. Channel's pretty new, so there's not a ton of content, but I'm plugging away and I'm working. So again, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll catch you in the next review.